challenges that independent producers face everywhere. Now, I'd like to start by, I was also the co-chair of Hot Docs for the last 4 or 5 years, and I also was the chair of the Banff World Television Festival, so I've been immersed in the world of documentary. And I guess the first thing I would say, my first observation would be, this is really, and this is for many of my colleagues too, the old graybeards, this is probably the first time in my career in the industry that I really don't know where things are going. There is a tremendous amount of fear, uncertainty, and pressure on the whole industry that we're a part of, not just on the production side, but also on the broadcasting side. Many of us are in a kind of denial with what's happening around us, and one of my biggest jobs is helping to move people beyond denial to understand how challenging the environment we're in is right now. Commercial television is in a terrible crisis. Commercial television, and it's not just a recession-driven crisis, it's a structural problem. There is a structural problem in television, commercial television. Advertisers no longer believe that they're getting a significant return on their investment because people use personal video recorders, they skip through commercials, they consume a lot of content on the internet. Young people in particular are abandoning television as we know it. If you put 10, 20-somethings in a room, as we did in my last job at our company, we put all the executives in bleachers, we put 10 people in their early 20s on the stage, and they talked about their consumption habits. They think our generation is out to lunch. They think we know nothing about their media consumption habits and that we are living in the past. So this is something we have to deal with. Young people are completely different in terms of the way they consume media, and the newer, even younger generation, what I call the digi-kids, who've never grown up in an analog world, they've grown up in a completely digital world, see everything completely differently. And so that is creating a massive structural crisis for television, and television is not going to recover after the recession. That is not going to happen. So it's going to still be there, television is not going away, but it's going to be a different industry. So it makes it very, very competitive for all of us. Very, very competitive for all of us. Now, ironically, in Canada right now, there's tons of public money available to support production, including documentary. There's all sorts of private funds that are set up. But the basic problem is you need a broadcaster to trigger this money. And the broadcasters have basically put their hands in their pockets, put their wallets away, put away their credit cards, and they're not spending a lot of money on documentary. So you have way more ideas than you have shelf space, you have way more ideas than you have license fees, and inevitably there's an oversupply of production relative to the marketplace. So I think you're going to see a bit of a shakedown in the international market and in Canada, where a lot of smaller production companies are going to disappear, and that's already happened. And you're going to see more consolidation in the production sector, the same as you've seen it in the broadcasting sector. So that's a tough message, but it's something we have to cope with. And I agree with others that have spoken this morning that there is opportunity, particularly in the co-production field. And there's also opportunity online, which I hope we get to talk a lot about this week. What is still working in the marketplace, people talked about, I think, science programming, discovery-type programming, history programming. I think there is a significant market for high-quality HD programming. We're now seeing the emergence of pure HD, high-definition networks, premium networks that people are willing to pay for and subscribe to. And I think, you know, the main markets are going to continue to be on the specialty side, on the cable side, and in high definition in particular. We're seeing a trend around the world. I know in Brazil already, I heard people talking earlier about vertical integration. In Brazil, there hasn't been a lot of support from private broadcasters for the documentary genre or for independent production generally. That seems to be starting to shift a bit with government regulation here. It's very, very important that independent producers lobby for public policies that support independent production. In Canada right now, the main broadcasters are trying to have all of their obligations reduced or eliminated. They really want to do more in-house production because they want to own the rights. And they want to own the rights on all production because they see the digital future coming and they see the potential revenue streams. They don't like working with independent producers because independent producers are pesky and they fight for their rights and they try to hang on to rights. So one of my messages would be, get behind your Producers Association and hang on to your rights. What rights that now don't seem to be terribly valuable are going to become increasingly valuable in the online world. That is a critical message. There will be markets, there will be dollars, there will be revenue, there will be potential in the online market, because there's one thing I've learned in my 35 years in this business, and it's a kind of crass way of expressing it: dollars follow eyeballs. So the dollars will follow the consumption of your product. So we need to become much more tuned in to the consumers. This is a consumer-driven universe. Consumers now have choices. The old days, when I started out in this business, it was lovely, it was paternalistic. I was a guy at the top of the pyramid, and I decided what shows got made, and I decided when they were scheduled, and I put them out there, and people took them because that's all they had. That world is dead. The world now is completely reverse of that. Consumers can choose to do whatever they want, wherever they want. And those of us who learn to satisfy the consumer, and I hate the word consumer, let's talk about citizens. Those who learn what citizens want to pay for and what they want to view will be those who survive and prosper in the new world. One quick comment. This year at Hot Docs, we have a team that goes around the world looking for documentaries for hot dogs. And they reported back this was the worst and most difficult year they had seen for documentary. They will still get enough to have a good festival, but it's been very, very challenging. So the whole industry is in some crisis right now. So we'll talk more about that.
So you heard a very strong advice from Norm, as he said, with his 35 years experience. Hold on to your rights. I wish he had said that when he was a broadcaster, but that's a different story. We'll move on to Mara Sharma, who is an independent producer, but also has many lives in this field. She has been a broadcaster, she's a teacher, she's into all kinds of things, and she's here principally because she's producing one of the major series that will be in 2010 on PBS, which is called Circus, and you will be seeing a keynote presentation from her on that subject. But for the time being, Mara, tell us who you are and your vision of the State of the Union of documentary.
My name is Maro, and I live in New York, and I was born in New York. So I will give you a completely New York perspective of the state of the world, which is nobody in America cares about the rest of the world, except for me. The problem, and that's my hardest warning as one of the few Americans here, is convincing American broadcasters to care about anything that's going on outside of our world. But I have to say, I actually find that to be true, having done a lot of co-productions about every single set of broadcasters. So I start with my State of the Union, which is to think about in creating content for international consumption by citizens around the world, is that you really need to think about your subject matter, of course the execution as a production company on that subject matter, but you really do need to think about subject matter that will resonate outside of your market, because otherwise it's very difficult to bring very small, very unique stories and think that they're going to work on an international level. It just doesn't always happen. I find it doesn't happen very often. In my own career, I have had a very eclectic career. I started